know if some people say Anansi, but there is a spider character. Anybody has anyone heard of Anansi before? Okay, there's lots of different Anansi stories, and I chose one particular one. So I love this story because I've taught first grade for many years, and it was part of our reading program, and we had to, at some point, to introduce one of our units, we had to read it, and the kids loved it. So at that time I didn't memorize it, but now I have, so to tell you today. So anyhow, I need a little help from you, and I'll let you know when. So once upon a time, Anansi the spider was walking. Can everyone help me with this? Walking through the rainforest, and something caught his eye, and it was a rock covered with moss. So he said, that's interesting. What a strange moss-covered rock. Kapam! Down went Anansi, fast asleep. About an hour later, he woke up and his head was spinning. Can I have some help with spinning? His head was spinning, and he woke up and he had no idea what happened. So he got up and he said, that's really weird. So I was walking along, and I saw something, and I just said, isn't that a strange moss-covered rock? Kapam! Down went Anansi again. So about an hour later, he woke up. His head was spinning, right? And he had no idea what happened. This time he got thinking, and he thought, I think it might be a magic rock. So he said, isn't that strange? I just looked at it, and I said, isn't that a and down I went. And he said, I think I know what I can do with that. So Anansi went walking through the rainforest, and he came about Tiger's house. And he went in and he said, hi, Tiger, how are you today? And Tiger said, I'm fine. And Anansi looked, and Tiger had all of this food in front of him. And Anansi was really lazy. He loved all of that food. He would have never gone and got that food himself. So he said, aren't you hot today, Tiger? And Tiger said, I'm kind of hot. And he said, don't you want to go for a walk in the cool rainforest? And Tiger said, sure, let's do that. So Anansi and Tiger went walking through the forest. And of course, Anansi led him to a specific place. And he said, look, Tiger, do you see what I see? And Tiger said, oh, isn't that a strange moss-covered rock? Kaboom! Down went Tiger. Anansi jumped, ran to Tiger's house, and he gathered all of that food, and he took it back to his own house. And he was happy. And about an hour later, Tiger woke up, and his head was spinning. Anansi was nowhere in sight. So Tiger went home, and he was sad because all of his food was gone. Well, Anansi thought this was pretty cool, so he's going to do this again. So Anansi goes walking through the rainforest, and he sees a pail full of bananas outside of Monkey's house. So he says, this is it. Hi, Monkey, how are you today? And Monkey said, fine. And then Anansi said, aren't you hot? Don't you need to go for a walk in the cool jungle? Monkey said, sure, let's do that. So Monkey and Anansi went walking, and of course, you know where he took him. He took him to that same spot, and he looked and he said, look, Monkey, look what I see. Do you see what I see? And Monkey said, oh, isn't that a strange moss-covered rock? Kapam! Down went Monkey, out cold. So what did Anansi do? He ran to Monkey's house, gathered up the what? The bananas, and he brought the bananas back to his own house. So he's got lots of food. Well, Anansi did not stop here. He did it to Snake. He played the trick on Snake. He played the trick on Fruit Bat. Did the same thing. Then he went to Jaguar's house and played the trick on him. And lastly, he played the trick on Squirrel. Well, he said, you know, I don't think I'm done yet. He played the trick on all the animals in the rainforest. But there was one animal that he didn't get, and that animal was Deer. Little Deer was near that moss-covered rock in his house, very shy, very quiet, hard to see, and he watched all of this trickery going on by Anansi. And he said, I think it's time for that spider to learn a lesson. So he ran to the coconut tree, and he got all these coconuts, and he put them in a big basket, and he took the basket, where do you think he put it? Back at his what? Back at his house. He put it at his house outside the door, and he waited, and he knew it wouldn't take long. And before you knew it, along came Anansi, walking, thank you, through the forest. And he said, hi, Deer, how are you today? Aren't you hot? And Deer said, I am so hot, I need to go for a walk. And Anansi said, okay, let's go for a walk. Well, they didn't have far to go. So they were walking, and all of a sudden Anansi said to Deer, hey, look, do you see what I see? said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Look, it's right there. Don't you see it?" And Little Deer said, "What are you talking about? I don't see anything." And Anansi said, "Look, see it, it's right there." And Little Deer said, "What do you want me to say?" And Anansi said, "You know." So Little Deer said, "You know." And Anansi said, No, you're supposed to say, "Isn't that a strange moss-covered rock?" Kaboom! And down went Anansi. Oh. Little Deer took off. He found every single rainforest friend. They went back to Anansi's house. They all got their food, the stolen food, and they took it back to their houses, and they were happy. Anansi woke up. Little Deer was nowhere in sight. So he headed towards home, and he got home, and he found his house as empty as it was in the very beginning. So if you think that Anansi learned his lesson, you're mistaken, because he's still playing tricks on all of his rainforest friends.